Right. Hello, it's Chad Morris, and my goal is to help make exercise a simple investment that pays large dividends for the rest of your life, especially in the quality of your life. My perspective is always looking for what is the minimum effective dose of exercise for any particular outcome. And I have over 25 years of experience helping clients implement this perspective on exercise so that exercising is a simple, time efficient investment that keeps meaningfully paying off, so that exercise is serving their lives, not making their lives all about exercise. And while each of us has unique circumstances, needs, and goals, the baseline minimum effective dose that I advocate, that I practice personally, and that I've seen work extremely well over time is as little as once per week, 10 to 20 minutes per week of high intensity strength training on just 3 to 5 exercises. So, exercise can be really simple while being extremely valuable, but then the challenges that get in our way can be numerous. Challenges of understanding just what to do, and then of navigating our lives and navigating our minds to make that happen. So every week, as these topics come up with clients, I pick one that I think will benefit most of my clients and anyone who's trying to take this approach to exercise. And the structure here is I'll talk for a handful of minutes about the topic that I selected. And then if you happen to be listening to this live and you want to raise your hand and discuss more about this topic or anything related to exercise, we can go up to 30 minutes if people want to talk, or we can keep it short and sweet. So, my topic for this week is the value of concentration in exercise. And the way this came up a couple days ago, one of my clients said, Hey, I think you should do a topic on the value of concentration and how much it helps exercising. And this is not an isolated comment. All of the time, I get clients mentioning that training with me using this method has really enhanced their ability to concentrate and focus throughout their lives beyond just the gym. And of course, they comment on how much their concentration is improving during their workouts and how unique that is for a lot of people. So what we're talking about here is mental concentration as we are exercising. And not there's the term concentration curl. If you think of exercise, there's this idea of concentrating effort into the muscles, which is super valuable, and that's a whole other topic. But we're talking about the act of focusing our mind intently in what it is that we're doing when we're exercising. And that might seem like an obvious point, but I think a lot of people's experience with exercise is to distract ourselves, to deliberately distract ourselves during exercise and during activities. So if you go to a gym, often you'll see machines set up, especially treadmills, bicycles, and things with giant televisions in front of them, or at least they used to be before everybody had iPhones and iPads that they brought with them to the gym, where you'd watch something on TV to distract yourself. Or most of these home devices are sold with stands where you can put your iPad, your iPhone on it so that you can watch your show or prop your thing up and listen to your podcast or turn on music, listen to music. There's a lot of gyms have music playing in the background. Um, Partly, often, for the goal of distracting you so that you're not noticing what you're doing as much, so that you don't quit because it's unpleasant. Um, Now, there might be some people that feel like using music helps them get further, but usually it's through that path of, because they are distracted, they're just willing to go a little bit further. So I think the thing that my clients are speaking to that bring this up is the approach that I bring to people is very much the opposite of that. It's rather than distracting ourselves from what's going on and hoping that we end up going further because we don't notice that we dislike it sufficiently to quit as soon, uh, we focus deliberately on really experiencing every element of what's happening and shutting out the rest of the world and shutting out the distractions. So we're talking about cultivating a a depth of concentration over time, l- getting to feel and experience and focus into more and more of the nuances of what we're doing and going for deeper and deeper concentration. Um, and what that feels like is on part like a tunnel vision where the the elements of the exercise that a lot of people are trying to avoid, those are prominent, and everything else in your mind, in your life, starts to fade out of focus and be in the background. And there's a meditative quality, and time just passes often. You get into that mode, and a workout that's 20 minutes, it just suddenly feels like it's over because you've been locked into this mode. Um, and in addition to that, there's often a reset function with all the stuff that was kind of piling up in the mind and in the life, that's pushed out of the highlight of focus. It kind of resets some of the overwhelm. People comment on this all the time, that there's a that they just feel relaxed, mentally as well as physically. I think it pairs well with a high intensity effort, that the physical exertion coupled with a deep concentration for a sustained period of time, even if it's only 10 minutes. If somebody's got a really brief workout, it has a very powerful effect. I've felt, and clients have commented over and over, that it has a powerful effect of kind of resetting and grounding them in themselves. So that's the kind of Zen experience. That's the direction that we're going toward. It's not something that happens right away, but something that builds over time. And so I'll just list out some of the elements that I think help and conspire to put us into that mode. So one is no talking, to minimize talking, to really put the brain power toward experiencing, observing, focusing on the efforts at hand, and only talking when it's necessary to communicate something or clarify something or just make note of something to discuss later. And with this, what I'll see with clients is that over time, initially there's a lot of talking, somebody's learning something new, and a lot of people are in the habit of just talking about whatever's on their mind, or they're showing up and they want to, there's another person there, and so they want to talk to that person, and that's their default mode. To gradually over time, most of my clients start talking less and less and less, and you see them get more and more deeply into this concentrated mode, where much of the workout is silent because they're focused, and it's the trainer's job then to give the appropriate feedback, but to minimize it, because you can see a person getting really focused and intent and locked in to what they're doing, and you don't want to distract from that. A couple other things, often eyes closed. So I'm in a situation with people where I'm typically using machines and they're getting comfortable with what those are, and you're not going to have to worry about getting out of position. So if you're in that state, you can close your eyes and just really experience more prominently what you're feeling. The need to visually observe what's going on isn't isn't really there. You're just gathering more visual information that's not relevant to what you're doing. So a lot of people will do this even spontaneously, or I'll suggest, hey, try this, and they find that they like it, of just closing your eyes. And you can go back and forth just to make sure if you feel like you get off balance or something, check in on things, then close your eyes again. But to deepen your connection with your body, with the musculature that you're working, closing your eyes during the exercise or some portion of it can help with that. And specifically intending to meditate on the muscles that you're working, feeling the specific muscles, learning where they are, learning to feel them more and more over time. Related to that, the sensations of effort, getting acquainted with what are the sensations, kind of observing and making note of, here's how those sensations progress. Say you're doing a leg press or a wall sit exercise, and you'll notice the sensations are different 15 seconds into it from when you started, and 15 seconds after that, and near the end. And if you can specifically try to clarify and identify what those are and then track them and see how they're changing day to day, it's actually interesting. And you can follow that and you can be acquainted with that and you can feel in control of that to a degree, as opposed to the default of trying to avoid feeling that I've mentioned. Most people approach exercise in general with to try to distract themselves. Another element that I've done these talks on before is to move smoothly between exercises and stay locked into that focus. So to not stop, shift gears, get a sip of water, have a conversation, think about something else, check your phone, but to immediately, the moment you're stopping one exercise, be in transition to the next. It keeps you locked in, and by the end of the workout, I find the depth of concentration and focus just builds more and more versus if you reset each exercise, you'll maybe make it back to the same level of concentration by the end of the next one, but it's not a progressive more and more function that you get with that smooth transition one to the next. Uh, and I've got a list of a bunch of things here. Another is pick a specific focal point for the workout. So it might be something that I've mentioned in one of these talks. It might be you're just working on moving slowly and smoothly. It might be that you're working on having free decoupled breathing from what you're doing. It might be that you're working on maintaining a specific cadence, like 10 seconds in each direction. For any particular workout, you can pick something and say, I want to really focus on this element and see how I'm doing with this and see can I do better with this. And that having a focal point like that can help to bring a lot of concentration. And then another one that's interesting uh, that most people really don't think of is observing not just how's your performance at the task you're trying to do or what do your muscles feel like, but what is your mind doing during the workout. You can concentrate on observing what thoughts come up, what emotions come up, what's happening. And this is something that most people really try to distract themselves from. But doing the opposite often has this sort of calming and freeing function, sort of counterintuitively. So a lot of times, especially if you're not accustomed to working out at a certain level of intensity, there can be various fears that come up. And if you notice them, then you can start to notice what they are. So sometimes it can be like a fear of I might drop this or I might get out of control. And then if you assess the situation, this has happened multiple times on, think of like a chest press exercise where you're pushing and coming back, and there's a kind of fear of, oh, this thing's coming back at me. Well, once you see that, you can kind of look and say, okay, well, the chest press comes back and then it stops and it doesn't come past a certain point. And I can't wiggle and get out of position. It's not like a bench press where if you get out of position, the thing could yank your arm out of your shoulder. Um, and if you can identify something that's a fear like that and then relate to what's actually going on, often you'll find that was that there's no really solid cause of anything that's a risk or a danger there, and that can be very freeing from that, where if you don't notice what that is, it's going to come up, you're going to distract yourself from it, and there's this layer of something that's unpleasant that you haven't really identified. So that's another way to just zoom in and bring more more resources because they're not distracted doing something else, and increase your ability to concentrate and focus. So while you're doing these things, again, the kind of short list of don'ts is don't talk too much about other things. Keep your mind on the task at hand. Don't listen to music. I mean, this is a big one that I got from Ken Hutchins, who came up with Super Slow, who is a mentor of mine, who is very much about shut off the music in the gym. Don't listen to things. Don't put on your back in the day your Walkman, and listen to music, even though it might feel motivating. It is a distraction from all of these other things that I'm talking about. And I've seen that be the case, that often people want that distraction. They want that music initially. They feel like they're more capable of pushing themselves harder. But with time, most people find that they really don't want that, that they do experience music as a distraction, and that's something that they want to preserve this depth of focus that's come up because it feels meaningful and valuable, and it helps the exercise, and it's a unique experience. And then the other thing that don't is don't have your phone on and able to interrupt you during the workout. If it's at all possible that you can be silent to the world for the 20 minutes or whatever your workout takes, have your phone off, silent in another room, don't check it, and just get back to catching up on whatever happened over the course of that 20 minutes after uh, your workout. And again, that little bit pulling at your attention of, I'm going to check on things. It distracts a lot, and I see this time and again with clients, especially new ones, that a lot of people are in the mode of just constantly keeping tabs on what's going on in their career, their relationships, and that it's like people want to go check their phone between every exercise and feel like they need to see it. So sometimes you may have to kind of run through with yourself, well, is it possible that you can get back to somebody who sent you a text message or an email in 20 minutes or in 10 minutes? Like, and if it is, just commit to putting that aside, and it's gonna help you immediately in your workout, but especially over time to increase that depth of concentration. So again, the experience over time, as you cultivate more and more concentration, the time will just pass faster. You'll drop into that deep tunnel vision on what you're doing and have that meditative quality and that quality of a reset from whatever was going on before. And your exercising will improve. You'll get more intensity out of the exercises. You'll be more connected with what you're doing. You'll probably train in a safer fashion because you'll be more aware and in control of everything that's going on. So those are the thoughts that I wanted to share about the value of concentration and exercise. Again, significantly more, I think twice as much time as I thought that was going to take to say those things, but I think they're valuable things. And I'm curious if you have any thoughts, feedback on that. Feel free to reach out to me. Let me know in person, email, text message, or right now, if you're live, you can jump in, raise your hand in the chat, throw something in the chat, raise your hand on the app. But oh, I've got a hand up. We'll see. This is Carol Ann, my mom. If you intentionally raised your hand, I invited you to speak. So you should have that invitation and be able to talk. And oh, there you are. Hello.
Oh, am I live?
You're live. I hear you.
Okay. I love your talking about paying attention and focusing on what you do with fitness exercise, since that is such an important part of the Feldenkrais lessons that I teach, and so significantly helps people become better aware of themselves and become more safe and in tune with their body and what's working and how it's working, and all the other things that you said.
Yeah. So if anyone is listening and not aware, you're a former physical therapist, but a now a somewhat long time Feldenkrais method practitioner. Which, if you don't know what that is, you can look it up. And yeah, the comments that I get from people, and I may have mentioned this, is I think in any arena that we go for this depth of concentration and awareness, it it sort of blends or bleeds over into other areas of life. And this is one of the comments I get from people is I focus much better in work. And I they comment on being able to take what they're learning to do in exercise and finding that that's showing up in these other areas and helping them in these other areas. And
I Yes,
yeah,
I agree with that, and I've had clients after they experience Feldenkrais lessons, then they tell me when they go to the gym they suddenly realize they're closing their eyes and they're concentrating on what they're doing with weights, which they never did before. So, yep, yep,
Yep.
for sure, it translates.
Yep. And the more that just it's a virtuous cycle. I think the more that we practice it deliberately in one area, the more it can kind of show up in these other areas, and then we can get more deliberate about it in those other areas. And it's a nice, I think it's a nicer way to exist in these situations, to just be fully present and engaged and aware of what we're doing. Um, yeah, that's neat. Thanks for sharing that. Anything else?
I also find that developing this ability to maintain awareness is a very foreign idea to most people and takes time, in my observation, for people to learn to really do that. And I think it probably did for me too. I'm always learning new sensations about myself as I continue to practice Feldenkrais after all these years.
So do you like what do you think helps people? Like, have you noticed any patterns of things that help people to do that?
Um, well, part of what I continue to cue is to move slowly, as you also stress with your work, to move slowly and to really stop and start, which you don't do as part of yours, but to move slowly and to start and stop these gentle movements that I teach so that they can really learn to engage in sensing how they feel and what muscles they use to engage and do any movement. And I think that does help when I can get them to slow down, which isn't always easy either.
So is that the same as saying, so if I put that in terms of noticing the difference between, we'll call it 0 and 1, noticing the difference between not doing one thing and just barely doing that one thing. Is that what
Correct.
you're
Correct.
saying? Okay.
Correct. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, thanks. That's helpful. And I'm glad you jumped on. And was there anything else?
Nope, not today. Thank
All
you.
right. And yeah, thank you. And nobody else has raised their hand or thrown anything into the chat. So again, if you're listening to this on replay, definitely feel free to reach out with any of your thoughts. It's a topic that I think is very interesting and valuable, and I'm always interested to hear your thoughts on this as well. So that'll wrap up for today. I encourage you to go out and apply something you got from today to your very next workout. And do make sure you do some strength training this week. Remember how valuable and how easy it is to build your exercise reputation with yourself, and then note anywhere you're feeling friction or having difficulty, because that might be your next big opportunity. You can focus on that. You can take it one step further and reach out to me for help with that. And I'll be back next week to highlight another topic about how to enhance the value you get from exercise.